So that you don't have an echo thing.
No.
Please, Ngolekani bafowethu lam nje lihlelekile. Is it open now? Okay.
And we are not going to open ours. Ours must remain closed. Because
Honorable members, welcome to this hearing with the Department of Arts and Culture and its entities. We also want to welcome the members of the Finance Portfolio Committee who have been camping in the legislature, doing what they are paid to do. We also wanted to welcome the members of the Portfolio Committee on Arts and Culture. Welcome, colleagues. We are really trusting that you will be following up on any issue that might arise out of this hearing. A special welcome goes to the MSA for Arts and Culture, Honorable Mavimbela. We also welcome the officials of her department. We really have got the pleasure to engage with you on the budget for 2021-2022. We also welcome the officials of the legislature who are part of us, giving support to the Portfolio Committee. And lastly, a special welcome goes to media and the public at large who might be joining us as we are doing what we are paid for. So we would want to move with the second item of the agenda, having welcomed everyone. We want to come to the apologies to those who are officials of our government who might not be aware that Honorable Governor lost her partner and she's still in the bereavement. So the apology of that honorable member is tabled for all of us to understand. And we're hoping that she is coping with such a painful experience. We also wanted to table the apology for Honorable Sonjika. While coming to work in the morning, she was involved in an accident. And we have requested him, after checking that our quorum is okay, to make sure that he sorts out the problem. These are the two apologies that we have. I don't know whether Mr. Trili, there is any other apology that I'm not aware of.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Sitch sent a message.
Okay, I am missing Mr. Sitch. Thank you very much. We are also moving with the next item of the agenda, which is the constitution of the meeting. Before I start the meeting, I checked as to whether the meeting is correct in terms of the rules of the legislature. And I was convinced that we do have the quorum as the Finance Portfolio Committee. That's why we are starting with this engagement. We are moving to the adoption of the agenda. The agenda, as I indicated, has mainly two items. That is the presentation of the budget for 2021-2022 for vote number 15, which is the Department of Arts and Culture, together with all the entities that belong to that portfolio committee, to that department. And thereafter, we will receive the presentation from Department of Sport and Recreation, where they will be presenting the budget for 2021-2022. So these are the two items of our agenda. Honorable members, would want to check if there is any mover and seconder for this agenda of ours. I'm just checking in my system and to colleagues who are around me. Honorable Zulu.
And check with members, finance, and also the members of arts, culture, sports and recreation, and the officials. I so move with that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. We are moving to you, Honorable Madhoka.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I support the move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you very much. Honorable Zungu, I see your hand in my gadget.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Greetings, everyone. I wanted to second also.
Thank you very much. I'm even checking honorable members who are connected. My brother, the clerk, is on strike today, but I am sure he is connected. He is a brother of mine. Honorable members, we are moving with the next item of the agenda. Because we are blessed by the presence of the member of the Executive Council, the MEC for these two departments, we are going to hand over to her to make some remarks that she has to make. That is the MEC for Arts and Culture, Sport and Recreation, Honorable Madimbe. Yes, Madam, we are giving you that opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and greetings to all honorable members, the officials of the department, and also the officials from the legislature. With your permission, Honorable Chair, because I've shown my face, I'll request to switch off the video so that I don't have some interruptions in terms of my connection, because when the video and the mic is both on, sometimes it creates some glitches. Thank you very much, Chair.
You are permitted, Madam MEC.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you once more, Chair, for allowing us as both departments and our entities to come before you to make the presentation of the budget 2021-2022 MTEF. Honorable Chair, as we were preparing for the budget of 2021-2022, we are guided, Honorable Chairperson, by the Constitution of the Republic, which tabulates our constitutional mandate as the Department of Art and Culture and also the Department of Sport and Recreation. Other guiding documents, Chair, that also assist us in terms of preparing for the budget is the pronouncement of the 6th administration through the SOPA and the SONA, and also the resolutions of the Lekgotla. All those documents, Honorable Chair, are coming from the manifesto of the ruling party, of which is the African National Congress, which was well researched through door-to-door campaigns. Honorable Chairperson, we are starting this year, 2021-2022 MTEF, whereas I have presented last year our plans that were progressive and also looking forward in terms of changing the lives of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. But due to COVID-19, we had some challenges that resulting in a domino effect, which has left the creative and cultural industry immobilized by this pandemic. Unfortunately, even though the regulations have been relaxed, the cultural industry will still feel the major effects of this pandemic, as most restrictions still apply for mass public gatherings. I think, Honorable Chair, you will agree with me that both these two departments can't do a thing without having the spectators. Although when we are allowed to go back to play, to start having some few people in our halls, in our cinemas, but if there are no spectators, it doesn't have any impact to our people. We are hopeful that this coming year, there will be some kind of relief which will enable us to revive the sector, which will also play a part in ensuring that there is economic recovery in creative and cultural sector. Also now, more than ever, it's time to engage communities who have been dealt a major blow because of COVID-19. We are responsible for lifting the mood of our province. It is also on the top of our agenda, Chairperson. And in this financial year, we will be introducing programs which will help rebuild our economy. As we uplift the mood, it is important for us to look back and celebrate two of our strike icons who have played an important role in our history, not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but in South Africa as a whole. While giving the State of the Nation on January 8 address, the President Ramaphosa declared 2021 as the year of Charlotte Maxeke. And as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we have added Ubaba Dr. John Langalibalele Dube, who is also the son of the soil of our province, for his contribution in the society. If they are still alive, they will be turning 150 years this year. As the Department of Art and Culture, we will be hosting a series of celebratory and legacy activities such as exhibition, open lectures and research, which will be unveiled by the Heritage Arm to celebrate these two stalwarts for the role they have played in our communities. This year, we also look forward to hosting a signature event which will be initiated by the provincial government. Through this event, we will be highlighting our diversity as KwaZulu-Natal and include talent from all 11 districts. Our province is rich in culture and heritage, and it's time for our country to showcase that. The highlight of this signature event will be to rebuild the province through a massive social cohesion and moral regeneration, job creation, and women and youth-focused skills development. As part of the district development model, this year we will also be introducing a ward-based stimulus program which will assist in resuscitating the cultural sector at ward level. The ward-based program will help us to stimulate the art and culture sector by implementing a cross-cutting ward-specific mentorship programs, exhibition, art performances, building murals, filming, and other activities which will ensure temporary employment opportunities. The ward-based program will have a specific bias for unemployed rural communities, women, young people, and the disabled art and cultural practitioners. The program will take the initiative public art project to create work for artists, designers, researchers, stories, craftsmen, and filmmakers. Our district offices will further sharpen their effort to boost skill development at the local level. In this financial year, the district offices will conduct various training programs working with TVET colleges to train over 500 artists across our province. One of the challenges we have experienced over the years in dealing with art and culture sectors is that the industry is not organized. Working with the National Department of Art and Culture, a decision was taken to formulate a federation which will be working with the government to organize the industry. It is through this engagement that the Culture and Creative Industries Federation of South Africa was born. Last year, SIFSA in KwaZulu-Natal successfully held their policy conference in Durban, and as the department will be working with SIFSA to ensure that the organization is operational properly to serve the artist and creative industry in the province. So we'll be assisting them in terms of the office space, the accommodation, and also the administration, so that we are giving the respect they deserve. The year we have been dealt with a major blow as the province of KwaZulu-Natal after the demise of His Majesty Uhlanga Lomhlabathi has been an ambassador for the Zulu culture, and over the years he has revived a number of aspects of Zulu culture and heritage. Ongangezwelakhe took it upon himself to restore two Zulu cultural activities that were no longer prominent as a result of colonial interference, namely Umkhosi Womhlanga and also Umkhosi Wokweshwama. Ngiyazi-ke abafundile sihlalo, they will be saying is the annual reed dance and also the ceremony of the first fruit. Through his cultural revival program, His Majesty helped to turn this province into cultural jewel and an exciting tourism destination. As we observe the period of mourning, we will remember His Majesty for the role he played in building social cohesion and moral regeneration in the province. As the department, we will continue to support Imikhosi kaZulu in honor of His Majesty and will be guided by the Royal House on how these cultural activities will be celebrated this year. Legacy of His Majesty did not only end in the cultural aspect. His role will be remembered in the sports sector, as we have seen over the years the pride he had for soccer, especially his support for AmaZulu Football Club. As we slowly return to the field of play, the department is committed to utilize sport as a powerful tool to achieve socio-economic transformation of our society. The department has set aside a budget to procure sport apparel from SMMEs and cooperatives in the year that we are dealing with. Last year, we successfully launched the Sport Legends program. This program will assist the department in implementation of sport development programs at ward level in schools to provide talent identification, coaching, and development. Honorable Chair, Mpazima. Over the years, we have made progress in ensuring that there is transformation across all sectors in sport. Even though progress has been made, we still have a long way to go to reach our targets. There is sufficient evidence that our development programs are working, and if we establish effective partnership with sport federation in promoting talent from rural and previously disadvantaged areas, we will be well on our way to realizing our NDP goal of having a national teams being truly representative of the demographics of the country by 2030. The department has been hard at work with the major federations in monitoring their progress with transformation. In addition, measuring the on-field demographics of their playing staff. Other areas in which federations are being monitored includes the composition of their executives or boards, number of females they have in leadership position, and their progression targets from development to high performance. Sport tourism through hosting of major events is the key element of boosting the local economy, which stimulates SMMEs and the hospitality industry. Some of the initiatives include hosting of the Soweto Derby, international rugby and cricket, partnership with Sharks to bring rugby to township, hosting of the national and provincial events, including Dundee July, KZN Premiers Cup, Comrades Marathon, Dusi Canoe Marathon, National Indigenous Games Festival, promotion of PSL local derbies, Salga KwaZulu-Natal DSR Games, National School Sport, National Championship and Indigenous Games. Direct spending by sport tourists at host facilities, hotels, restaurants, and entertainment venues stimulates the local economy. We look forward to a productive year ahead of us as we navigate through some of the changes we have planned. Honorable Chair, as the Department of Sport and Recreation and also Art and Culture, we want to make sure that we are not being captured by the beneficiaries, especially those that are private enterprises, in terms of them always benefiting in the department. Although you can see in the Green Book that there are some allocation that is allocated to them, but our approach will be saying, is the province fairly represented? If the province is not fairly represented, we will be looking at those that are privately owned in terms of being supported by the department to also give others the opportunity. Also, top of our agenda, Chairperson, is the clean governance and also making sure that we are working in the environment that is corrupt-free. We want also, Chairperson, to make sure while we are doing that, because we are looking forward in getting the clean audit, but in terms of our spending, we want to be doing that guided by the financial principles, but making sure that whatever we are doing it in terms of not underspending or overspending. And if the officials are not adhering to that, Chairperson, we will make sure that consequence management are adhered to. So we will put disciplinary measures in place to make sure that we bring the department that we are responsible to look after the dignity it requires. So discipline and professionalism will be our daily song. I want to repeat this, Chairperson, that our programs will be biased to the disadvantaged groups and it will be people-centered. We want to respond on issues speedily. In closing, Chairperson, I just want to quote amazwi ashiwo isithalwande sethu utata uNelson Mandela encwadini yakhe esiyijwayele uLong Walk to Freedom ka-1995, and I quote, "If I preach unity, I must act like a unifier, even at the risk of perhaps alienating some of my own colleagues." Close quote. And thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for the opportunity you are giving us. With my officials from both departments, we will be tabling the budget for 2021-2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. We are now inviting the accounting officer of the Department of Arts and Culture and his team to present the budget for 2021-2022 financial year. We will appeal to you, Gambushe, to focus on rands and cents, because that's what is the interest of our own portfolio committee. We are also mindful of the fact that our sister portfolio committee on arts and culture, led by Bishop Dube, dealt with the APP and all related matters. So ours would want to get the rands and cents. So that's what we are requesting, Honorable, Accounting Officer Gambushe and your team.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much. Let me greet you, Honorable Chair. Let me also greet the Honorable MEC Hlengiwe Vimbela and all the honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee, as well as colleagues from both departments, as well as the legislature. Honorable Chair, I will not waste the time of honorable members, and our team, I'm sure, is not also going to waste the time. There is one comment, Honorable Chair, that I wish to make, that our budget is indeed aligned to the national priorities as well as the priorities of the province, as you have rightly said, as we presented to the Portfolio Committee of Arts and Culture. I will therefore, on the basis of that, Honorable Chair, request that we go straight to slide number 8. And if we move straight to slide number 8 of the presentation, I will then request our CFO, Chief Financial Officer, to take the members through and focus on the rands and cents as the Honorable Chair have requested that we do so. May I then request that we flight the presentation and we go to slide number 8, which start with the budget reduction over the 2021-2022 MTEF, and the CFO will take us through. If the Secretariat could flight the presentation. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And then the CFO will take over.
Thank you very much, Gambushe. CFO, you are invited. I hope you are going to flight it on your side, because I do have some challenge on my side. My secretary has just gone out to sort out one minor issue from where we are. So, Gambushe and your team.
Subject to presentation. Yes. Thank you very much, Chair. I've just requested assistance. I got caught off guard to beam the presentation. Just a minute as I'm beaming.
You shouldn't worry much if it is difficult to beam it on your side. We do have copies that your department sent to us. We hope we'll be following you. Oh, luckily it has been beamed.
I can't see it. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I'm now sorted, and thank you for the confirmation. Greetings to the Honorable Chair, the Honorable MEC for Arts and Culture, the members of the Arts and Culture portfolio, HOD and colleagues. I greet you all this morning in the name of Jesus. I will just be presenting the runs and cents, the figures to support the opening remarks of the MEC and the presentation by the MEC as well as HOD. Starting from slide number 8, those are the figures. The budget for 2021-2022 has been reduced. We are all aware.
Cousin. No, continue, CFO. Someone forgot to switch off his mic.
Thank you. Well, from national level, COVID that dictated that period. So, in terms of for the
We can't hear you, Madam CFO.
They are there.
CFO, your network is poor. The members can't hear you. CFO, your network is poor. The members can't hear you.
Yes, I must say there's a network challenge because I'm connecting from the office. And may I request maybe the members to just bear with me.
Gambosha, can you take over? Because it seems as if our CFO's network is
problem.
I was also going to advise, Chair, that the accounting officer must take over because there are challenges with the CFO.
Yes, ma'am. I think that would assist. I know Gambosha is capable of running through the budget.
Now, Honorable Chair, thank you very much. May I request the CFO, as I always request, to find a better spot, but I will proceed once the CFO has found a better spot, because there are better spots in the office, to then proceed with the presentation. But Honorable Chair, on the slides that you see, it's the baseline allocations. The CFO have spoken, we have tried to speak about the budget cuts that we are all experiencing, including this department, over the MTEF. That slides reflect a revised budget at the bottom there of 1,100,768, and then it goes down to 997 million, and then a little bit up to 1 billion when it comes to 2023-2024 financial year. Next slide. The next slide will be slide number 9. I will proceed, Chair.
Sorry to interrupt. I've moved to another office. I'm back online now.
The slides, can the slides be projected? They've disappeared. And then you can proceed, CFO. Hopefully, we are not going to have other problems. We are now on slide number 9.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I've asked Shafika because I'm connecting with her cell phone now. if she can assist and beam the slides.
Please proceed whilst we wait for the slides to be
Yes,
beamed.
whilst we wait for the slides. Okay, thank you. Moving on to slide number 9. Slide number 9 is just the allocation of funding, saying how is this budget funded? With due respect, Chair, I will request that I focus mainly on the 2021-22 financial year. Equitable share is 814,236 million. The grant for community library services is 185 million, EPWP 1.9 million. So that is how this budget will be funded. And we have the figures for the 2 outer years. That, with due respect, I would like not to mention in the interest of time. Moving on to slide number 10 is just a narration. If I can request the members to just read it. We're focusing on the figures, the rands and the cents. Slide number 11, that is the departmental summary or the breakdown. Slide number 11, breakdown of this budget according to the departmental programs. Administration is allocated 177 million, cultural affairs 317 million, and libraries and archives is allocated 506 million. So that is the breakdown of the budget for each program. Moving to slide number 11, slide number 12. How is the breakdown now based on economic classification? How much are we allocating for compensation, for transfers, as well as capital assets? Even here, with due respect, Chair, if we can focus on the 2021-22 and request the members if they can read the figures for the 2 outer years. Current payments, that includes compensation of employees of 281 million, goods and services 239 million, which amounts to 521 million. Transfers and subsidies is 366.3 million, which is made up of transfers to local government at 265.9 million, non-profit institutions 23.5 million, private enterprises 9.6 million, and households of 910,000. Departmental agencies, which is AMAFA, as well as the Playhouse, 66.3. Lastly, the allocation of the portion for capital assets, infrastructure, structures, as well as buildings, that is the construction, as well as the refurbishment of existing libraries and new ones, 105.2 million. Machinery and equipment like furniture, computer equipment, laptops, etc., 8.8 million. And that is the total of the 1,001,768 rand allocation. Moving on to the executive summary, that is just the narration of the previous slide, which had rands and cents. That talks to the breakdown for each program. Administration, the reduction of the budget under administration, as we are all aware, was mainly due to the wage freeze by National Treasury. Also, on Program 2, Cultural Affairs, the reduction was due to the reduction in terms of allocation of equitable share by National Treasury, as well as the grants and subsidies. Moving on to page 14, library services and archives. The reduction is mainly on the transfers and subsidies, particularly to the biggest municipalities, which is eThekwini and Umsunduzi. The reduction wouldn't like to reduce allocations or transfers to the municipalities and other organizations, but if the allocation from National Treasury has been cut, we need to also cut our pattern according to the cloth we have. Slide number 15, it talks to the compensation of employees. Yes, there might have been a reduction, but there's pay progression provision that has been made of 1.5%. And I must say that there are critical posts that were identified as critical. There has been communication to the MEC, to the Premier, to the Provincial Treasury, MEC for Finance, regarding which posts. However, at that time, it was an estimated 52 posts, but probably there might be more, there might be less, because as we are proceeding, there are new developments, and also the department is also looking at the issues of the merger. So there might be changes in terms of the number of critical posts to be filled for these two old departments, as well as the newly established one. Moving on to goods and services, funds amounting to 8 million is just a narration or a narrative of the previous slide that had a table with figures. I would like to talk to e-transfers and subsidies to local government, as earlier alluded to, that there has been a reduction of 25 million in 2020-21. And that is mainly a reduction in respect of eThekwini as well as the smaller municipalities have not been affected by the reduction. On page 17, slide number 17, departmental agencies, there has been cuts to Playhouse as well as AMAFA, amounting to a total reduction of 6.5. Second bullet to public cooperation and public enterprises, there was a reduction of 1.5 million for 2021-22. Then transfers and subsidies to non-profit institutions, that has been cut by 2 million. Moving on to slide number 18. Transfers and subsidies to households, there's been a reduction of 500,000. Those are bursaries to non-employees for the scarce skills related to the mandate and the functions of the department. For capital assets, payments for capital assets, which is buildings and other fixed structures, there has been a reduction by 3.1 million in 2021-22. I won't mention the 2 outer years. In machinery and equipment, as already explained, that is just a provision for computer equipment, office equipment, etc. Moving on to slide number 19. This budget has also been prepared so as to contribute to the socio-economic lives of the previously disadvantaged groups. That will be women, youth, the disabled. An estimated 30% we'll also see when we're looking at the APP, an estimated 30% of the new orders to be issued will benefit the youth, women, and people with disabilities. Out of this 1 billion budget, that is an estimated 30 million for the new orders. Also, this budget makes provision for mass employment opportunities. You are aware that we have high unemployment figures or percentages as a country. There's been 7.2 million that has been set aside or allocated for employment opportunities like EPWP, the Youth Patriots, library processors or library data capturers, as well as infrastructure projects where the women, youth, and disabled from the local communities where the infrastructure projects are being implemented will be employed on a temporary basis. Also, during the event, like imikhosi yesizwe. Apologies, that should have been corrected. Imikhosi yesizwe, national days, local employment will be generated. For example, the reed cutters will be employed from the communities, the community cooks, the marshals, etc. Then they will be employed on a temporary basis for work during the events. Improving the social mood of the province, an allocation of 8.7 million has been set aside to benefit the local communities, particularly women, youth, and people with disabilities. Each and every ward in KZN has been allocated 10,000 rand so as to contribute towards arts programs, towards cultural programs as well by these various groups. Now, moving on to a detail, I won't dwell much on the slides to follow, Chair, with due respect, but is to further break it down now per program. Slide number 20, which is program 1, which incorporates the Office of the MEC and corporate services, allocated 177.8 million. Moving on to slide number 21, how is that 177.8 million categorized? Current payments, which is compensation of employees and goods and services, is 173.9. Transfers and subsidies, 1.1 million. Payments for capital assets, 2.87. I don't have to read line by line and figure by figure, but that is the breakdown per category for program 1. Then the slide, sorry, Chair. The slides following are just explaining that program 1 includes corporate services, admin, financial management, risk, and the programs for this financial year include the filling of critical key vacant posts, appointment of interns, clean audit, skills development as well. Moving on to slide number 23. Compensation of employees, as already indicated, an estimated number of 11 critical posts for program 1 included in the budget. Goods and services would include functions like the leasing of buildings, the fleet, audit fees, cleaning contracts, security contracts, Microsoft licenses, etc. Transfers and subsidies are mainly for motor vehicles to the Department of Transport for vehicle licensing. Moving on to slide number 24, transfers to households. We indicated that there's an allocation that has been made for funding external bursary holders who are going to study qualifications that are in line with the mandate and the functions of the department. Moving on to program 2. Program 2 has been allocated, as previously alluded to, 317.8 million and broken down between management, arts and culture, language services, museum, and heritage. Slide 26 breaks down the 317.8 million for program 2. Current payments, that is cost of employees and services, 185.5 million. Transfers and subsidies, 111.9 million, as well as capital assets of 20 million. So that gives the total of 317.8 million. Slide number 27 is just the discussion under program 2 to say which sub-programs are there. It's arts and culture, including ROM, language services, museum. The functions or the programs for the year, they include the institutionalization and implementation of social cohesion, moral regeneration in the province, signature events, which is government-driven event that will draw tourists and benefit KZN artists. A signature event is allocated 5 million under goods and services. Moving on to slide number 28, which is still a continuation under program 2 discussions. Imikhosi yesizwe, led by it's no longer His Majesty the King. I think we should have updated this. There are the programs, but there's been an allocation of those Imikhosi yesizwe 28 million. National Celebration Days 5.1 million. I must say that promotion of multilingualism and the development of historically marginalized languages has also been included and prioritized in this budget. Supporting of SIFSA, where the support will be provided in respect of operational costs, office space, printing, telephones, administrative costs at quarterly meetings. We've spoken about changing the mood or improving the mood in the province, where an allocation of 10,000 Rand per ward, translating to 8.7 million, has been included. Celebration of a collective heritage by promoting our diverse cultures, including the commemoration of 150 years of Charlotte Maxeke and J.L. Dube. So those have been allocated 3.9 million. Still under discussion, program 2, a compensation of employees, 1.5, a pay progression has been budgeted for, and EPWP amounting to 1.9, which is a grant that is received. And I must state that this 1.960 million is only for 2021-22. There's no allocation in the 2 outer years. There's been a vacant post identified as well under program 2. However, the reprioritization might change during the course of the financial year. Under goods and services of program 2, there are events where the department will be hosting, for example, the Reed Dance, Umkhosi Womhlanga, the Freedom Day, Africa Day. However, these have been budgeted for at a reduced costs. Moving on is the continuation, transfers and subsidies. These will be discussed at a later stage. There are slides where the transfers and subsidies are dealt with. Buildings and other fixtures. Utunguluka Art Center, that was initiated by IDT. It's a typo, it's IDT. Just to give a little bit of background to say there was an investigation that was initiated by the Portfolio Committee, which was concluded in 2018. Then this year in March, the department visited the site, and it was identified that a professional assessment is required to determine whether work can continue in the existing site or structure, or a completely new site and new structure must be started afresh, and that is still to be determined. The project managers are in the panel of the department and have already been appointed in the panel. So allocation will be made, or selection will be made from there. Infrastructure projects will be covered in the last 3 slides of the presentation. Moving on to slide number 31, that is just an indication of the figures. Playhouse 8.5 million, Amafa 57.7. That is the 66 million already reported in the earlier slides. Slide number 32. Those are the transfers and subsidies to the public enterprises. I must say that there will be changes. The law does allow However, this discussion came up after the Green Book was printed and the budget finalized. However, the law does make provision for changes in the budgets, especially in the adjustment budgets. On page 32, Drakensberg extravaganza, as well as Durban Fact Rocks, it has been identified as already indicated and reported by the Honorable MEC that those will be reduced to 1.5 million each in the adjustment budget. And those savings or the monies to be saved from that will be allocated to other organizations or institutions. There's quite many of them who come knocking to the department requesting funding. But we won't be able to see that now. It will be only taken care of in the adjustment budget, and the budget variance and shift can be approved during the course of the financial year by the head of the department. Utungulu last dance, the name will change to last dance, and Tungulu will be removed. Moving on to the next slide. Those are the transfers to the non-profit institutions. With due respect, I don't have to read all of them one by one. Slide number 34 is the continuation. All the non-profit institutions until slide number 35. Moving on to slide number 36, funds received under intergovernmental relations for Program 2. There's been funds that have been received but have not been appropriated in the departmental budget, but it is crucial to report on them and advise the portfolio committee. These are 1.7 million that has been received in the previous financial year in terms of an agreement with the National Heritage Council for the Resistance and Liberation Heritage Route Project. And the project, the implementing agent for these projects are DCO Matiwane Liberation Heritage Site allocated 500,000, Johnny Makatini Museum 700,000, Chief Albert Lutuli Liberation Heritage Sites 500,000. The department has already spent 950,000 of this 1.7, so it's an ongoing project. Also, 15 million was received for the construction and completion of the cultural precinct facility at Enyokeni Royal Place in Kwanongoma. This project is implemented by the Department of Public Works and is not appropriated in the budget of KZN-DAC. However, the monies were transferred and received from National Department. Moving on to program number 3, that is the end of program number 2. Program number 3, I will try and rush time. Library and archive services, that is the breakdown. Management 2.7, archives 3.1, library services 284.5, community library services grant 185.5, and the total allocation is 506, which is the biggest chunk of the budget. Next slide, number 39, that is a breakdown per component, compensation of employees, 92, and goods and services. Transfers to local government, we can see the 250.8, transferred to non-profit institutions, 22.5 million. Payments for capital assets, buildings and other fixtures, structures, 85.2, and machinery and equipment 5.6. So that is the total breakdown for 2021-22. I won't read the line items for the 2 outer years. Discussion under program 3, library services and archives are the sub-programs for this program. The key programs for the year is procurement of library materials, the building of libraries, provision of internet connectivity to all the libraries in the province, as well as awareness campaigns on all national symbols and national orders. Compensation of employees, like all the other two previous programs, 1.5 pay progression has been provided for. Estimated 28 posts have been included in the budget that are vacant. Goods and services includes acquisition of library materials, connectivity, the SLIMS system. Transfers and subsidies are for the provincialization of libraries, for staff and operational requirements, and grant funding that caters for the payment of salaries and appointment of cyber cadets. Moving on, continuation, local government transfers. We've already spoken about the reduction that affects mainly Msunduzi and eTheku. Transfers to non-profit institutions. This also includes family literacy projects as well as South African Library for the Blind. They have been allocated grants in this budget. Buildings, we'll see in the last three presentation, the construction of libraries, either new ones or refurbishment of existing. This caters for the renovations of the library head office, and this project is managed by the Department of Public Works. It's been included in the budget. Also, there's a finalization of Dukuduku, Dakane, and Hlangezwa libraries, but there are many other libraries. We'll see the detail in the last 3 slides. Now, coming to the grant itself, how is the grant budgeted? Compensation of employees and goods and services, 46.8 million. Transfers to local government for library services as well as non-profit institutions, 62.5. Payments for capital assets, 76.1, which will be for e-buildings and other fixed structures like modular libraries, 70.9. Machinery and equipment, 5.2. Discussion, compensation of employees. Yes, there's been a reduction. We spoke about the reduction previously. Goods and services, the nature of items to be spent on, which is the books, the connectivity, etc., the SLIM systems. Slide number 45. There are the transfers to the non-profit institutions, as already alluded to. Family literacy projects, 650,000 rand. Library for the blind, 1.860 million. Machinery and equipment and building, I've already explained what those are. Slide number 47, that is where we are starting now with differentiating and listing these projects. Which ones are the new ones? Which ones are for refurbishment and rehabilitation? And which ones are upgrades and additions? Slide number 48. I won't be reading that whole list, but there is the list, and the focus is mainly in 2021-22. Others, or a majority of them, are multi-year projects that are allocated budget in the 2 outer years. I must mention that Dukuduku is being finalized. That 1.4 million is only for the last final payment. Then in 2022-23, there will be no allocation because it's going to be completed in the current financial year. Moving on, Nibela and Mpembeni, which is row number 2 and 3, are the same as the previous one, which is Utugutugu. They are being finalized and allocation is made for the final invoice to be paid. That is the slide number 49. That is the continuation of the list of the construction of new libraries. I won't read all of them one by one. Then moving on to slide number 50, which is the refurbishment and the rehabilitation. Allocation is made. Majority of them are 1 year projects. In 2021-22, we see 2 or 3 multi-year projects there. The renovation of Winston Churchill has also been provided for, as well as the head office in that slide or in that. NGR building as well has been provided for the 3 years, 15 million, 5 million per annum. Then upgrades and additions, those are the existing library buildings that need upgrades or additions. It's 2, which is Osizweni Art Center, as well as the Utungulu Art Center. Both are multi-year projects. The last slide is the end, and thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
What a good presentation, CFO. Very, very clear. I want to check with the accounting office and the whole team if there's any addition before we engage.
Chairperson, thank you very much. There will be just one comment, Chair, that I think the CFO have touched on it, but I just want to emphasize that in your hands, you would have a green book. Some of the figures, when you look at them, might not. For instance, if you look at the posts that would be advertised in the department, as well as what we are saying about Utungulu Art Center, those are the things that at the time when the green book was printed, they were as such, including the issues around Utungu, the last dance, as well as the area where we were talking about the Drakensberg extravaganza, as well as the fact Durban rocks. Those, they would appear with those amounts in the green book, but with the guidance of the executive authority, certain decisions have already been taken, but would follow the normal processes, as the finance committee would know what are the processes that you follow to go and then do those adjustments as they would have appeared on the green book. Honorable Chair, I would leave it at that. Thank you very much. We would wait for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, HOD and the whole team. We would want to check with honorable members whether there are any questions that would clarify them. I want to see the hands. I'm looking at my own computer here. Is there any question, honorable members, or you are impressed by the presentation by the CFO? It was a very good presentation. Honorable CQ Madlopa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much to the MEC for just taking us through on her overview, as well as the head of the department together with the team. We really appreciate the presentation, and we can see there are not much that is problematic that we can raise in this 21-22 budget, as we indicated that we are interested in rands and cents. But I want to check those funds that are not yet appropriated, maybe just to get a clear understanding to say that they were not appropriated, but they have been committed. Going forward, maybe if they can just explain that one. Maybe I did not hear well. I heard that on slide number 36 to 37, there are funds that are not yet appropriated. And also the one that they are indicating that there will be changes on page 32. they indicated that it will be 1.5 million. I don't know whether they will reduce the first two to 1.5 million because others are less than 1.5 million. Maybe to be specific to say that this is the plan that they have when they are going to make a cut, because they said it will be when the changes take place, they will change these figures, maybe so that we can be sure and record the actuals that is going to remain. But we want to also appreciate that the conditional grant was allocated in 2021 financial year, since we know that in the previous year there was nothing because the department did not account for it. We will therefore appeal to the department that the allocation that they have received of 1.9 million is really implemented, so that we don't have the same problem of not receiving the EPWP grant. So, but we want to congratulate the department. We can see that they have tried their best even to try during this difficult time to allocate the projects that are going to be visible on the ground. Like the libraries, I appreciate, because I can see that nathi sizohlomula laphana eMhlathuze, ngiyabona ukuthi hayi lapha eDangezwa sizoba nayo i-library, which has been an outcry of the community of Dangezwa not having library going forward. But also we will appeal that those funds that has been committed to those service delivery, like the libraries, because when it is presented to us, we take it to our constituencies and say these are the projects that are going to take place. We want to be assured that despite the difficult time that the department and the province and the whole world is in, they will make sure that those service delivery projects are not really taken away when they revise their budget. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson and the Honorable MEC. We really appreciate for her to come also to present, because it's really not compulsory for her that she must come, because it's the HOD that is accounting to us. But to take her department very serious and want to know what is raised by the committees, we really appreciate. Well done, Honorable MEC.
Honorable President Fabisa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the Finance Portfolio. Greetings to members of the portfolio, the Honorable MEC Ugama Vimbela, and the members of the portfolio, as well as the support team. I think firstly, one must welcome the presentation because it gives sufficient clarity. Honorable Chair, it is just a comment on two things. It's either they can respond, Chair, or the portfolio can have a closer look on it. I want a question of equitable distribution of resources. If you look at specifically on slide number 32, if you look at the transfers and subsidies to corporations, or from slide 30, from slide 31, all those transfers go up to non-profit organizations, which go up to page 35. I wonder, when it comes to equitable distribution in terms of resources, because it can be good as Hlalo, only to find
a big chunk of money only ends up in Durban or Pietermaritzburg. I'm making an example. We come from a background where the previously disadvantaged have always been previously disadvantaged. This is also similar when you go to slide 48 on infrastructure, new construction. I also appreciate that it is good when we are going to be seeing more physical structures on the ground. But again, in terms of equitability, how equitable are we? I can see the construction of Imbali, which I presume library, on slide 48. If you look at that grant for 3 years, and then you look in other areas, I'm not sure, Slalo, the construction of Dugudu Library, the 1.4, if it is the last payment, but what was the total? Nibele, but what was the total? Because you know, we might find that yes, we see projects, but when it goes to certain areas, it's just only small things. It's either they can respond or the portfolio to have a look at that one, the question of equity in the distribution of resources. But other than that, well, one, as I've said, welcomes the presentation, the clarity it gives.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shabisa. Bishop Sakbon Impelutu Kon, so Ilandel Fanagit. No, there are only 3 things that I'm interested in myself. As the HOD was indicating, many of us will be guided in the main by the Green Book. That's why it was important for HOD to indicate areas that might have changes and all the stuff. But there are 3 things that I'm interested in. I want to find out if Honorable Madlopa asked this question, but she didn't want it to be blunt like I am. You know, I'm a great art teacher. When you teach children, you say things directly. So I wanted to find out if this new grant that we fought so much for as the Finance Portfolio Committee, going up to the National Treasury, then luckily it got reinstated this year. I wanted to find out if the problems that you had as a department around accountability, as per the expectation of the National Public Works, have been corrected, so that we might not find ourselves not having the EPWP grant in 2022-23 financial year. That's a great hard question. The second question is in relation to community library grant. I wanted to find out that the long-standing problems in the spending of that grant have now been all resolved, and we are not going to see the cut of that conditional grant, which mainly relates to the underspending of that grant. That's the second fundamental question to me. The last one is around the question of infrastructure in general. You have mentioned that you are using the implementing agent of choice, which is the Department of Public Works. I want to find out as to whether the performance of public works has improved now, because when we engage many departments during the midterm in November, we discovered that infrastructure delivery was not speeded up on the ground because the public works created problems. The reason why we're asking that specific question is because the public works is still to come, and we are not going to miss that question to public works, checking their readiness around the question of the quicker delivery of infrastructure on the ground. So those are the three questions that I have, HOD and your team. We are inviting responses on your side.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Kambusha. President Hlabisa still has a question that he missed out when he was given the platform. Yeah. President Hlabisa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. And I missed it on page 708 in the Green Book, because this addressed the question I spoke about regarding the libraries. Because it's Hlalo, I was just wondering while I was sitting down at Mpembeni if it could be the last payment, but I've never seen that modular library. But now if I look there on page 708, this has been a rollover because of challenges. It is not something that is at a last stage. Now, I come back to the question of equitability now, of equity. If it is true that these libraries, Nibela, Mpembeni, Mfekwayo, and Denidarito, is not the last tranche of payment, and look at the allocation and then compare with other areas, how do they arrive in such a disparity in terms of distributing resources? Because people are all voters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, President. I think Kambush and the team, when you will be responding to that question, I hope that you will be able to indicate the difference between an ordinary library that we all know and a modular library. Right. Yeah, so that you clarify that one. Because I know the one built in my constituency, oh yeah, even Mpembeni is my constituency as well. Honorable Hlabisa, I will be following up on that one as well, because I've got vested interest. I know the Nibela one is a new thing and is a modular library. It's not a library like the one that we have in Fufu. So that's what we have to explain, so that all of us understand that particular two types of libraries that we are delivering as the department. Kambusha and the team.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me start from the end, Honorable Chair. Let me start with the questions that were raised by the Honorable Chair of the Portfolio Committee of Finance. Public Works. Honorable Chair and Honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee would remember last year, Department of Arts and Culture, led by myself as the accounting officer at an administrative level, we were defending public works because the project that had been delayed at the time, that was with the Department of Arts and Culture, was not out of the making of the Department of Public Works. Now we can do a proper assessment of how public works have worked with the Department of Arts and Culture. Let me also say that there are only two projects that we have with the Department of Public Works. One is Enyogeni Precinct, which is the amount which would amount to about 200 million, maybe at the end. For now, it's about 50 million that the CFO has spoken about. That one has not started, but only one for the head office library of 41 million. Now I can report, Honorable Chair, that the speed with which we were expecting public works to move with the project have been too slow. So therefore, there is a challenge with how the implementing agent of choice have rolled out the project of renovation, revamping of the head office library, which is in Pietermaritzburg, which is our capital city, and the pace with which they are moving is too slow. Hence, they would be asking for rollovers in relation to that project. So it's only one project of 41 million where we are reporting, Honorable Chair, that the pace is too slow. And we believe that Public Works could do better than how they've done in the past year or the year under review as we go to the new financial year. Maybe one other thing, Honorable Chair, that touches rands and cents, as well as the issue of whether we have a clean audit or whether we increase the money on irregular expenditure that has to do with Public Works, is the issue around leasing of offices. Public Works have not been doing very well. We have an office, for instance, that we have leased for over a year. We have never even received an invoice from Public Works so that we can pay them, let alone that all our leases across departments have not been renewed, but Public Works have given assurance that the irregular expenditure that will arise out of the leases not being renewed with us as departments paying month to month, that money will be reflected as irregular under Public Works. I then move on, Honorable Chair, and talk to the spending on conditional grant. Have we developed the systems and structures as the department in order to improve the spending? Yes, Honorable Chair, the answer is yes. One of the major problems of us not spending, the minor and the minimal one, was around the infrastructure set up before, which we had resolved. And we believe that in terms of the capacity within the infrastructure, we are at a point where internally we can be able to deliver. But the major problem of delivering was with supply chain management, where we had the story of officials that did not have the capacity and the capability of delivering. That we have sorted out. The evidence of that is that we now have the CFO appointed. Last month, we appointed the new director SCM, and the post below the director SCM have been filled. So therefore, we have a fully fledged staffing within SCM, except for one vacant post wherein one of the ADs got a post of DD, and therefore we've got a vacant post within that department, which is a new vacant post which will fill. So we have no excuse, Honorable Chair, as you have heard the CFO presenting. We've got the capacity now in the department in terms of that, because that grant was affected by what was happening within the SCM directorate, which we have capacitated, and we now have the capacity. EPWP, Honorable Chair, 1.9 million. We could not get the money last year, but we spent the money to the value of about 2.2 million within the departmental budget, not on the allocation, as we now have had the allocation. I think that is the question or the comment that also Honorable Madlopa raised around the conditional grant of EPWP. We are happy, Chair, that we now have that amount, and already we have started the processes of equitably allocating the employment of those 34 EPWP that will cover 1.9 million across all 11 districts, 10 plus 1, which is the metro of KwaZulu-Natal. So therefore, you would not have a situation where on EPWP, you've got only young people and women that are employed only from Mkungundlovu and eThekwini. The Honorable MEC Hlengiweka Mavimbela have insisted that that should be equitably shared amongst all the district municipalities that we have in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So that would answer the questions that were raised by Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Leader of the Opposition and the Leader of Inkatha Freedom Party, Honorable Thabisa, the issues that I want to deal with as per the question is the equitable share of infrastructure. Honorable Chair requested that I deal with the categories of libraries. Maybe let me start there. We've got 3 types of libraries that we build in for the province as arts and culture. First type being modular library. The value of modular libraries vary from 3 million to 4 million, because the modular libraries are those that are preferred, like that are quick to build. The maximum that you take to build a modular library is 6 months. Minimum to build a modular library should be 3 months. So most of our libraries are modular libraries because the brick and mortar takes too much time. So the brick and mortar are 2 types. Is one that we call study library. They range around 16 million. And then we have the mega libraries. Most of them are 30 million and so on, which we do not have too many. The best that you would see, which is a mega library, is in the town of Potchefstroom, Ugu district, where we have a 3-story library that we have built. That is one mega library that we have built. So we've got those 3 types. Now, to clarify the issue of equitable distribution, Honorable Leader of Inkatha Freedom Party, there is only one local municipality in the whole province of KwaZulu-Natal that does not have a library. That is the Umzumbe local municipality. Any honorable member who has a constituency office in Umzumbe would now know that the only local municipality where we have not built a library is at Umzumbe. But in the current financial year, we budgeted for it. In the last year, there were issues because for us to budget and have money is one thing, but for the piece of land to be available for us to build is another. There are instances where a land is identified, a council resolution is taken, Master City siyafika, Honorable Hlabisa, ufike othi cha umhlaba wakhe le noma umhlaba wobukhosi noma umhlaba wenduna, and then the whole process has to start afresh. So there are those libraries that could not start on time simply because of the issues of land. But the equitable distribution of libraries, I want to demonstrate it by saying that the only local municipality that we have not built a library is Umzumbe local municipality. Now, Honorable Chair, the Tugutugu library, the budget for Tugutugu is 26 million, Honorable Hlabisa. That Tugutugu library was a 26 million library, but I'm not suggesting in any way, because there have been variations, it might end up being 31 million or so that would have spent for Tugutugu. Tugutugu should have come, we should have completed Tugutugu this month, but there was an unfortunate incident 2 weeks ago where the local business people pointed a firearm to one of our consultants and the work has been stopped, and we are left with a month to complete the work there, but we are trying to intervene so that the Tugutugu library could be completed. So that amount of money that you see projected by the CFO is the closing amount that we have to pay, but the total that we would have paid for Tugutugu might be in the region of 31 million, Honorable Hlabisa. Then on Imbali, Honorable Hlabisa, Umgungundlovu ube nebhadi, Honorable Hlabisa, because the library of Umgungundlovu Emsundozi was decided long time ago that it needed to be built. The decision was taken in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Now there were issues, the land was identified and so on, the drawings were done. To date, there's not been a single brick being laid in Umgungundlovu. So their library was decided around 2011, 2013. Only now we have managed to break all the barriers, and we are going back to a decision, I think, of the, if I'm not mistaken, of the 5th administration, so that we can build a library there. Noting also that Umgungundlovu is the capital city of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and that library that is going to be built there is the study library that is going to be one of the big libraries that would build in Umgungundlovu. But it's not even a decision of the 6th administration, but it's the 5th, if not the 4th administration, because this decision was taken around 2011, and we are only beginning to see progress now. Then the issue also of transfers and subsidies. I would like to link that to Honorable Madlopa, who wanted clarity, I think on page 32, where we were talking about effect Durban Rocks and Drakensberg extravaganza. In the Green Book, you will see those amounts. It says for Drakensberg extravaganza, because it's only those two, Honorable Madlopa and Honorable Sabisa, that are affected. The Drakensberg extravaganza in the Green Book will have 3.5 million. The effect Durban Rocks will have 3 million. Now, given the issue of equitability, the MEC have said to us, for the past 3 years, you have funded effect Durban Rocks. For the past 2 years, with a break last year because of COVID, you funded Drakensberg extravaganza. But there are many requests that are coming in, coming from those that are NPOs or private enterprises that are coming from other districts. Hence, we will be, because these two events are both happening in December. So we will in September do the budget adjustment, and both of them, Drakensberg extravaganza, Honorable Madlopa, as well as Fact Durban Rocks, will be reduced to 1.5 million each. And we also believe, because we have worked with them, that they have the capacity to raise funding also in the private sector in order for them to be able to deliver this particular event. And our 1.5 million will be focusing on making sure that the artists of KwaZulu-Natal are paid and they are able to stay out of poverty and also stay out of being affected by COVID-19, because COVID-19 is going to take us beyond 2021 up to 2022. That is the projection. Hence, then we are saying when they submit to us, our 1.5 million would not be about all other things that are fancy, but will be about that the artists are paid. So that then addresses that. The money that will save from the 3.5 and the 3 million is the siyayifuna i-event ezoba se-St. Lucia eMkhanyakude. And therefore we are saying when we reprioritize, we will look for events and private entities that are outside of Umgungundlovu and eThekwini. That then answers the issue around the equitability vis-a-vis the transfers and subsidies. Then I think the issue of conditional grant, I have covered earlier on. The Umfekayo Honorable Sabisa and Pembeni, those libraries are modular libraries. I can report for Umfekayo, for instance, honorable members, that library is complete. The problem that we say is not complete is because there's an issue with electricity, which needs to be resolved between us, the local municipality, and ESCOM. So therefore, we expect that those libraries will be handed over this year by the MEC, as well as the MECs deployed as champions for those districts, because they are ready. The only thing that we are dealing with, we are engaging with uMasipala kanye ne-ESCOM ukuze bafake ugesi, ngoba into evimbile kulawo ugesi ongakho eduzane nongafikile kuwona. So therefore those are the issues. In terms of the setup for the conditional grant here, EPWP, we have already established an office where it is belong. In employing the EPWP staff, we will also be employing someone who will be doing the the clerical work, and we are identifying a senior staff member who is going to provide reports, because the main problem that we had with EPWP was reporting, not spending. So we have checked up the area of reporting, and now then that particular area will be dealt with. There is only one question that I've not dealt with, Honorable Madlopa, that I'll give to the CFO that deals with, I think it was appropriations on page 36 and 37. So that is the question that, Honorable Chair, I will leave with the CFO. Thank you very much, so that she deals with that one. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, the allocations for each project library in slide 31 to 35, as well as in slide 48. I think HOD has already explained that there are different types of libraries. So that is why there are different allocations or distributions of resources. The size, the type, and probably the topography, which is the design, is not the same for all the libraries. That is why there are those different budget allocations. Not to say a certain area is favored to have more allocation than the other. It's the nature of the library, the size of the library, as well as the design and the topography. That determines how much the project will cost. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much to the department. You have responded to all questions and adequately so, as you normally do, Kambusha. So those are the things that we wanted to get from our officials, that when we ask questions, they just respond to the questions that they were posing. As Honorable Shabisa indicated, most of the questions that were raised by us would expect that they are followed up, Bishop Dube as chairperson, on monthly meetings that we hold with the department, so that everything falls in place. Umphako nje baba umbishop, siyocela nje lo usilandelele nangolunye usuku ukuthi le mega library yaseThekwini Metro singasasezwa lutho ngayo manje, ngempela kuyokwenzeka njani ngayo, having a city with so many people that is without a mega library. But bengiyibuzela nje uyoyilandelela Bishop. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And I knew the problems that were there in the past, while the MM there was a smooth toll, and then we had to cross swords a number of times as the Finance Portfolio Committee in relation to that one. No, but thank you very much, colleagues. We are now moving to the presentation by AMAFA. We are also requesting AMAFA to focus on rands and cents, because the Finance Portfolio Committee, that's where it takes decisions. We are requesting the leadership of AMAFA to make a presentation of the 2021-2022 budget.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to the MEC and to the HOD and colleagues. I am going to hand over to the new head of Secretariat and Administration, together with the CFO, to deal with the presentation. I hope the host, as we normally refer to him, will just give a very brief background in terms of the performance data, as it were, and then hand over to the CFO for rands and cents. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, my leader. CFO, take over from your leader.
Thank you so much, Chairperson and committee members. My name is Mqolisi Dlamuka. I am, as Chairperson has indicated, I am the head of Secretariat and Administration. I'm going to raise very few issues before I hand over to CFO Wetu. AMAFA are established in terms of Section 23 of the National Heritage Resources Act, and also in terms of Section 5 of the KwaZulu-Natal AMAFA and Research Institute Act number 5 of 2018. The current council has revised the strategic direction of the Institute in order to align it with the new legislative mandate, also to align it with the National Development Plan and also with the Medium-Term Strategic Framework 2019-2024. During its strategic planning session, it found that, in fact, social cohesion is one of the key elements that should drive the delivery of services of MAFA. As Honorable MEC indicated earlier, MAFA will develop programs and services that will seek to unite the people of KwaZulu-Natal. The page that I've shown, Chair and Honorable Members, indicates the extent to which lamafindo esiwabona lapha sifuna ukubona i-community yase-KZN ibopheke by lamafindo so that they can think together as one South Africans. With no further ado, may I hand over to the CFO to take us through the rands and cents as Chairperson requested. Mr. Akash Ramprasad, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Chair. Greetings to the MEC, honourable members, Chairperson and colleagues. Chairperson, it looks like somebody's mic is on. Okay, so the first slide, we've just got 3 slides that I'm going to go through. The first one talks to the revenue streams over the MTF. So looking at 21-22, we're starting off with a budget of 57,786, as the CFO Arts and Culture had mentioned. And then, as you can see there, over the MTF, obviously due to COVID-19 and the strains that the economy is on, the grant isn't increasing over the MTF, so it's actually reducing by just about 200,000 per year. But obviously, MAFA will then try its best within those limits to make sure service delivery is not affected. Then our 2 very minimal forms of other income is from goods and services and interest and rental. So as you can see there in the 21-22, 1.3 million and 396,000. So that is mainly from the goods and services, mainly from our permit application fees. We charge the public for the built environment section and the archaeology section, and also for the gate entrance fees that we charge the visitors to our, to the various battlefields around the province. So as you can see, we're budgeting for just a small increase over the MTF, and then interest and rental income, just very, very minimal figures there. So that's giving us a total budget then in 21-22 of 59.5 million. And then, as I mentioned, it's actually decreasing over the MTF. So then the next slide talks about our expenditure per program level. Right, so our 4 programs, so we've got 4 programs. Finance and corporate services, we've got 20.7 million. So that is basically our, the admin non-service delivery part of our operations. Then the next one is our heritage identification, management and protection. So that speaks about, that has to do mainly with our compliance section. As I mentioned, the built environment, archaeology, and our rock art section. So we've got 11.1 million and pretty much the same figures over the MTF. As I said, the grant hasn't increased due to various factors that we're fully aware of in the economy, and therefore these figures haven't increased much either. Then the third program is the heritage promotion, site management and programs. So that deals with the maintenance of the various sites that we, as the Heritage Institution, maintain throughout the KZN province. So we budgeted 22.3 million and just about 22 million over the MTF. And then the new program that we've got, Chairperson, is this. It's called Research and Innovation. So as you're aware, the merger the new institute, the merger, the new institute came into being from the 1st of April 2020. So, and obviously a big part of the new institute was the research leg of it. And so now we've budgeted 5.2 million and just increasing slightly over the MTF. So that program would deal with all the research programs that we planning to undertake, and that will be administered by the respective managers under the watchful eye of the new OSA. So giving us a total budget then to work with a 59.5, as I mentioned, it is equal to the income above, and then 59.3 and also 59.3 over the MTF. Then the next slide, it talks about our economic, the breakdown per economic classification. So the first item is the compensation of employees, which is 38.6 million. And then increasing just slightly over the MTF to 38.8 and just over 39 million. So this is in line with we obviously haven't budgeted for any salary increases, in line with what government has or Treasury has informed us. And but those small increases are basically for increases in Medicaid that council pays or the council contribution towards staff medical aid. So it's just a small increase there, but there's no budgeted increase to salaries itself. Then under goods and services, we've budgeted just around 20 million for the per year over the MTF. And then our payment for capital assets is just small amounts, 900,000 and 641 and 673. So that's just there's no major capital improvements planned for the MTF. It's basically just replacement machinery and equipment and vehicles. And that 300,000 there that you see is just it's storage facilities that we want to just like sort of steel structures really that we want to implement or that we want to erect in this coming financial year. So again, getting us to the total budget of 59.5 and 59.3 and 59.3. So I think Chair, that's just a small financial summary of that, and obviously we've got detailed operation plans to go with this, and that support the APP. So as I mentioned, under the watchful eye of the new HOSA, we will implement this budget over the MTF. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So we are done. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. A very short presentation. Those who are interested in those runs and cents, I wanted to check if honorable members have got any questions that you would want to pose to this AMAF, a very good performing entity of our government, even in terms of audits and whatever. Historically, it has been getting more clean audits than anything. We really appreciate the good work that you are doing as the entity of our government. Engathi imbuzo kayikho ngoba icace ngendlela enihlaleni yazi athi mina ngini-ambusha naku-scope. I will waylay you in scope. Even there, we are always giving quality reports by the entity. Thank you very much, Baholi Bamafa. Honorable members, we are going to move to another entity, which is the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. We are going to meet with them as well to focus more on the runs of cents, which is the job of the Finance Portfolio Committee, because programs and APPs and all the stuff were dealt with by the committee of my bishop, Ubaba Umhlonishwa Udu. Can we invite the leadership of the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. We are really grateful for having this opportunity. It's Bongani Tembe, the CEO and Artistic Director here. I would just, am I heard, Chair?
We hear you clearly.
Yes, we really appreciate this opportunity and to present in front of this esteemed committee and our MEC as well as HOD and CFO and all the officials. And since we presented, I know it was on a separate, as you mentioned, Chair, the purpose of that meeting was slightly separate, but we presented, I think, a month ago. So I think the members are a little bit familiar with our work. So in the interest of time, I will then go as quickly as I can. And then there could be, of course, engagement later. May I ask that in our slide is put up, please?
You want assistance, Mr. Tembe, on our side?
Yes, I thought that they will put up our slide. Otherwise, maybe we just go with the what's the name of the gentleman? That's Pamandla will put the slide up.
Yes, Pa, are you trying to do so? No,
Yeah,
he's trying to do so, my brother. He's going to project it.
Thank you, sir. So there is the presentation to the Finance Portfolio Committee today, the 26th of March, 2021. Next slide, Pamandla. We know that the orchestra has been in existence for 38 years. And I'm very glad, I like to emphasize that this orchestra actually was formed by the KwaZulu-Natal government. So it is really the baby of this government that we are proud of. The orchestra is a reputation for innovation and excellence, and it is funded by grants from all three levels of government, and has a comprehensive education program that we'll speak about later, and a lauded community engagement program. Next slide. In terms of our vision, just to highlight that our vision is based on the affirmation of the value and the transformative power of music to inspire and build connections among KwaZulu-Natal's diverse population, thereby contributing to nation building. I'm so glad that this vision is tying up with a lot that our MEC was talking about. And our mission is to engage and serve and contribute meaningfully to the improvement of the quality of life of all communities in KZN by embracing our responsibility to play a significant role in the cultural life of KZN's vibrant and diverse community, creating platforms within communities for the advancement of the experience of music, and inspiring young people to discover their full potential through creativity and performances, and to identify highly talented young musicians and nurture their skills with the view to enhance the pool of professional South African orchestral musicians, and to contribute significantly to the economic development and tourism of KwaZulu-Natal, and ensuring the orchestra's artistic growth and financial stability. We are always glad to say that we've had a clean audit for all these 36 years, Chair, and we are very proud of that. I am going to jump the organizational objectives to the next slide. Sipamandla, next slide. Also jump the stakeholders. We know all of them, especially our major stakeholders, the KZN government. Jump the organizational structure. Our artistic objectives, yes, go back, are very clear, is to maintain artistic integrity, quality, and innovation. And embracing innovation, Chair, has been very important to us. And we started on this path and putting it as part of our objectives before COVID. And I'm so glad that when COVID hit, we were able to rise up to the challenge, that we were able to be productive during this COVID time, Chair. And immediately when the country was closed in March, by April, we were already producing virtual videos. Our first one was Amazing Grace, which was really a contribution to our healthcare workers. It went viral all over the country. Even Rogers said they would like to really distribute it around the world. And we contributed throughout last year, even at the funeral of Mlangeni, the stalwart. We played for that funeral virtually, though, with choirs and the orchestra. And there are so many. For Nelson Mandela Day, we did a virtual celebration. For Heritage Day. So the orchestra, through its embracing innovation, continued to be productive last year. And luckily, during October, November, the level of COVID went down such that we can put members together and recorded a symphony season that is now currently running. Also at the Playhouse in December, we're able to do a wonderful festive season production with choirs and others. We are now starting a project where we'll be teaching children at schools virtually and throughout this year. And as soon as COVID is down, then the teaching will be one-on-one. Next slide. We also have got a cadetship program, as you can see here under Education and Development Program, which is aimed at preparing young South Africans for permanent jobs in orchestras as well as elsewhere. We also have developed, let's just go back, Siphamandla. If you look at that first bullet, we've developed a comprehensive and sustainable education and development program, and we do go out to other parts of KZN, Chair. I'm so delighted to announce that, as you'll see later, just this coming on the 31st of March, the orchestra will be at Mpange in the preparatory schools, where 300 learners will participate, and will like to invite you, Chair, and the members of the Portfolio Committee of Arts and Culture to see, and our MEC, the orchestra at work. I must stress that even though 300 kids of Mpange will be participating, they will be grouped in groups of about 80 each. And we will do about 3 or 4 engagements with them throughout this day on the 31st of March. So that is next week, just around the corner, and we'll observe all the government protocols in terms of COVID and social distancing. Next slide. Financial objectives. I've spoken about the maintenance of impeccable controls of our finances, and to maintain funding from government structures as well as the private sector. In a way, this orchestra is like a partnership between government and the private sector. We receive roughly about 4 million to 5 million from the private sector and high net individuals. And also, we are about to start an endowment fund so that the orchestra is sustainable well into the future. Next one. Human resource objectives. Developing our staff to their full potential and facilitating transformation within the company, achieving sound labor relations. And then I'll go to the next one as I'm running very fast. Marketing objectives, of course, we want to be sure that the orchestra is out there, and together with our provinces, its work is seen. Sometimes we're not always doing very well in this regard, Chair. And sometimes the media only also focuses on fancy events, but would like when we're out there, Mpangeni or Ekamalake in South Coast, or Lady Smith, that also the media covers those events as well. Next one. We have a World Symphony series that brings the stars of the South African music world together with international conductors and soloists at the City Hall. Sometimes we do a few concerts of the World Symphony series at the Pietermaritzburg City Hall, but this is quite a premier event. As you can see, that young black conductor is from actually Minnesota, the USA. And this also contributes to tourism because it then attracts tourists to Durban. Next one. We've spoken about education and development, and it has grown to be one of South Africa's most vibrant community engagement programs. And under a normal year, we reach anywhere between 25,000 and 35,000 young people. But of course, during the year of COVID, it was a little bit difficult. Also, the residences that I'm talking about were very much hampered by COVID, but I'm glad that next week we will undertake our first rural residence during the COVID times. Next one. Next slide, Sipamandla. Sipamandla, next slide. Chairman, is everyone? Yes. Okay, thank you. So you can see one of our musicians teaching young people. We've got a music center at KwaZulu-Natal next to Nanda Dam there, which is a beautiful area where we teach young people. You can see that. And sadly, it was affected by COVID as well. Next one. We've already spoken about the residencies. This was at Skawini College of Education, but the picture is taken pre-COVID times there. As you can see, we had, I think, almost 3,000 people there. Next one. We work very closely with choirs and the choral community as well as we've got a project called KZN Youth Concerto Festival, where we bring talented young people from all corners of KZN. They are in residency at the Playhouse for 1 week, and it culminates in a major concert. Next one. Yes, you can see there a famous German conductor is working with Msizi Nyandu, one of the promising conductors, coaching them. Next one. These are the young people. That lady there was singing an aria from Princess Makoko. You can see she's wearing her Swati attire there. It was just so beautiful. We also believe in taking our music that reflects our heritage and writing it down so that it's preserved for future generations and that we perform it as well. And you can see the other lady, she's a Chinese young lady. I think she was 4 there. Next one. We also go to retirement homes, old age homes. That lady there was celebrating 104 years when we visited their old age home or retirement home, shall I say. Next one. I've spoken about the National Youth Concerto. Next one. The young performers, I spoke about that, the selected regional people from all the regions of KZN who come to the Playhouse. I've spoken about the National Cadetship Program. Next one. And there you can see we've performed with Mahotela Queens, again, writing their music down, and it was really, really an inspiring thing to collaborate with them. Next one. Yes, even with the young people like AKA, we went to the ICC and did something with him, and all the young people of the province gathered there And I think that event attracted 2,500 audience members, as you can see in the report. This was just before COVID, Chair. Next one. You can see AKA there with our young musicians from the orchestra. As you can see, look at that picture. The orchestra is diversifying more and more. Next one. And this is the budget for the next 3 years, MTEF. And we have budgeted 8 million from the province, but we have increased that by 5%, which is inflation. But I noted in the report of the department that it is staying at 8 million. We respect that. But if it was possible to get even an inflationary increase, that will be appreciated, bearing in mind that the original budget of the orchestra was 10.7 million, so was cut to this level. Let me end by saying we appreciate our work with the MEC and the HOD and our relationship with the committees of Arts and Culture, the Portfolio Committee and Finance. And we want to contribute to the vibrancy of arts and culture in our region and to utilize music to bring all races and everyone together. And let me end there, Chair. Thank you very much. Next slide. Thank you, Chair.
Siyabonga kakhulu CEO of i-orchestra. Hayi thina ke singama-professional omculo President Hlabisa. Hayi yake impela yasicitsha le-orchestra ngey'khathi zethu kodwa kasikho-ke isigxobo esigoga namaxolwazi. Uyazi kuhle sazana lapho kwi-field yayibona leyo. Honorable members, is there any question that you want to pose to the budget that has been presented? It's very clear. And Mr. Tembe did not hide anything. He indicated all the sources of their income and whatever, including the source coming from our own province. We really appreciate the good work that the orchestra is doing. We want to move to another entity, which is the Playhouse company. Lena nithi Natal Playhouse sayishintsha sathi Playhouse ngokuphela. Okungenani sasingathi KwaZulu-Natal Playhouse kunalento ayiyona. We are going to invite the CEO noma uMisi omkhulu noma yini President Hlabisa ke bahlangana naye le yithi emakhaya emaweni ngoba ihamba yonke indawo kodwa ngifela bakubaye ngisho nakithi le komangusi.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Misi omkhulu.
Yes, Chair, before the Playhouse, just to say that please note the invitation to the committee for our performance next week, 31st of March, Mpangeni. Phakathi Mpangeni, Chair.
Wesiphase siyothemba wena ukuthi uyosisa yini noma uyonqaba. Kuphethe le nsizwa kade kumuvela ama-slide siphethwe yiyo.
Mina njalo ekomiti
benomngani wayo uBishop Dube. Manje siyi lapho angeke siye. Thank you very much for the invitation, Babutela. Miss Omkhulu, sicela i-presentation yakho.
Siyabonga sihlalo, ngiwabingelele wonke amalungu esishayamthetho ngokuhloniphekile nombishop wami osiphathele ikomiti eliqondene nezamaciko nobuciko namasiko. Ngibingelele futhi kanjalo MEC wethu umama Mavimbela. Ngibingelele futhi nozakwethu laphaya uMr. Chongo nabo bonke ozakwethu abakhona. With your permission, Chairperson, ngicela ukuvala umabonakude bese ngiqhubeka.
Hayi cha sesikubonile besomkhulu ngavala.
Ngiyabonga. We had prepared a presentation that gives more detail that support the financial matters that we're presenting. However, we are going to comply with what the chairperson has indicated and zero in on the financial performance, and hopefully members will have sufficient time to peruse the other information. May we have then the next, just as an appetizer, Chairperson, these are the reflections over the current financial year. As at the end of this current financial year, in a few days' time, these figures will have drastically improved. We would have seen more than close to 2,500 artists that would have had gainful employment. We would have also had close to 150 productions, as well as more than 200,000 audiences, most of whom are watching virtually. So I thought it is important to just give that little bit of a detail so that you know, Uguti, where the money is going to that we are receiving from our Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. I'd also like to skip a few pages and go to slide number 7, please. If you could enlarge that, please. Oh, it's enlarged. Of particular interest here, Mtwana wakapindangene, when we went to Olundi in Zululand, where we had our end of year community arts festival that we call Ogwetu. We had extended a kind invitation to him, and to our surprise, he graciously attended and graced the occasion and gave words of welcome as well as encouragement to the number of artists who were present. Sabeses Lulela Mkanyagude, where we also, through the guidance of our MEC, Mamu Mavimbela, we invited members of this particular portfolio committee as well as the portfolio committee on arts and culture. We were very happy that the MEC Uqobolwakhe was there. Sibona indaba namaqhuma asemkhanyakude. Umnumzane uhlabisa ilungu elihloniphekile was also present and graced us at this occasion, as well as ilungu elihloniphekile umnumzane uNkosi usihlalo waleli committee. Siyabonga kakhulu. We had given an undertaking ukuthi where we see the potential of those that can be featured or recorded, we will extend a hand to those groups, and I'm happy to say that we will be starting on that program of recording some of those groups when the new financial year starts now in April. We are happy to note Mr. Tongo and the MEC, Nobaba Udube, as well as Ubaba Unkosi, that you've sharpened your pencils for this new upcoming year, and you've been able to secure additional funding for us. So the figures that we will be presenting to you in terms of the number of the artists and number of productions would be slightly adjusted during the adjustment period, because we now have additional money that we did not anticipate, and we're very grateful for that. So may we then move on to the figures that have been requested by the Honorable Chairperson. There are various programs of the Playhouse Company, those that are initiated and fully funded by the Playhouse. There are various processes of identifying productions as well as identifying artists, not only in Durban, but as much as we can also outside of our city, so that we cater to the larger artistic community in KwaZulu-Natal. And the left side column indicates the kind of programs that we embark on, as well as the objectives behind linking all of these to the NDP as well as the Minister's 10-point plan. We also have partnerships with other independent producers who come and get the Playhouse companies' facilities free of charge, bringing their own productions. We also have a third category that sees our facilities being hired by independent producers who already have sourced their own funding. Because of the challenges and disruptions brought about by COVID-19, the Minister Umthetho Unyambose requested that we remain open and not charge artists because of the plight of the artist, and we've been doing that since July, August last year. Artists are able to come and access our venues free of charge. Even the ones that we're talking about that will be coming from Kanyagude as well as Zululand will be fully funding their transportation, accommodation, SNT, and they will be recorded free of charge as we had made the plan. So the number of production of projects that we're talking about is in column number 3. The total budget is the following column, but the chairperson has asked that we focus on the allocation that we receive from the department in KwaZulu-Natal. So our total budget, if we go to the next slide, please. Can we go to the next slide, please? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I had enlarged, I didn't see. Our total budget comes to 10 million for the upcoming year. That was before we received the good news. So now we'll be in a position to up that figure a little bit through looking for other sources of income. And the good news is that we have now moved from just under 6 million to just over 8.5. So the breakdown is is given on column 5. I wonder if the chairperson would want me to just read those figures, or would it be sufficient to give the indication of what kind of productions we're talking about, the rationale behind those, and how it links to the programs of government, and then indicate the total figure, because that's as much as the presentation on financial information as it goes. Would the chairperson like me to read each line item? Angmuzwa Ustalo, I would take it then that the presentation speaks for itself, and it is quite clear how we are allocating the 8.5 plus million rands that we are so grateful to receive and disperse on behalf of the artistic community in KwaZulu-Natal. Chairperson, I could go on with other slides, but the financial information is contained in these few slides. And therefore, I'm asking for your guidance to indicate if you'd still like me to proceed with other non-financial information, sir.
No, thank you very much. Oh, I think it's enough, my lady. Your presentation is very, very clear. We have seen the total budget. We have seen what will be transferred from our own departments. Really, thank you very much for the good work, even for putting Honorable Hlabisa, MEC, Nonkosi, kumabhuku angcwele. Siyongena kanjena ke ezulwini Bishop, ungenwa ngemsebenzi. Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you very much. Honorable members, are there any questions? Ayicacile. Ibaba trainer thina lesipresident Hlabisa yabo cacile ba. Can we move on with our own? We are now have come to the end of the presentations by the Department of Arts and Culture and the entities that are benefiting from our own department. We think that the department, Honorable MEC Mavimbela, and your HOD and the whole team, really you are doing a very good work. What we like most about you is that you give us information, you hide nothing. That's what we appreciate very much. Thank you very much. This engagement has come to an end. I hope that the Department of Sport and Recreation is around. I didn't check whether the CFO and the accounting officer, udokotela, HOD, ukuthi sebengenile yini. Have you checked, Mr. Chidi?
Yes, Chair.
They are on. Okay. So, Honorable MEC, we're offering you the opportunity to make remarks before we allow your department of departmental officials to make a presentation.
Thanks, Chair. Looking at the agenda that was given to me, Chair, I was afforded one opportunity to make the remarks. That's why I included both departments in my opening remarks, Chair. I don't know whether I have to start again because these are the very same members of the portfolio of the Finance Committee and the Portfolio Committees, only the department officials that have joined. But the agenda was just showing that the MEC will do the remarks once. So that's what I did, Chairperson.
Hayi kunjalo mholo wami. Yabo mina phela sengikhulile nokukhumbula sekuyinkinga, and it was very detailed your remarks, and indeed you covered both departments. Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. We are now handing over to the accounting officer and her team to take us through the budget of 2021-2022. We are pleading with you, HOD and the team, that would request that you focus on runs and cents. But having said so, we want to welcome the Portfolio Committee on Sport and Recreation, eholo umama, Mama Pena. Welcome, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and the whole team. And we are hopeful that issues that will come out of this engagement will be followed up by you. So we're handing over now to the HOD to take us through the presentation with her team. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members. We are presenting the 2021-22 MTEF. Just as a way of introducing our presentation, Honorable Chairperson, we are basically presenting the highs and lows of our budgets. This year, 2020-21, has been the most difficult, as members can see. The reduction from 481 million to 298. Even at 481, as a department, we are really funded below $500 million. And for us to then go up to 475 million in 21 and then go up to 481, only to drop again at 477 in 23-24 is really cause for concern for us. But we also want to leverage on other forms of funding so we can better this picture that we see. And in us doing that, we have come up with a resource mobilization strategy, just so that we can shock ourselves up. The partnerships we have with economic development, for example, is going to actually assist us because we are finalizing the memorandum of understanding. We will be, participating in the economic recovery plan of the province, partnering with economic development. And we've identified about 5 sectors that are basically going to assist us in terms of growing the economy, but also in terms of ensuring that jobs are created. So leveraging on what they have in their coffers as economic development, we believe is going to assist us a lot because they have funding for radical economic transformation, Operation Vula, and the 5 subsectors that we've identified that will be funded through economic development include the e-sport, and this is basically an innovation which is in line with the 4th Industrial Revolution to say if you cannot deliver sport for whatever reason, we hit the 3rd wave, then we can always go onto the digital space and deliver e-sport seamlessly on the digital platforms. We've also identified the subsector clothing and textile, which is basically, taking it down to the wards where we have a number of SMMEs that are involved in the space, and we're giving them economic opportunities where they can actually do apparel for our teams. So they will do kits, and we will be supported by economic development in terms of a business enterprise. In fact, that program started already last year. So we have them on a program where they are actually being coached and mentored so that they can actually start delivering on the kits and the apparel that we use as a department. The 3rd subsector is the equine industry, which is the traditional horse riding in particular, where we have the ownership of the horses being the people on the ground in the wards, and it really does help them sustain their households, but also build their revenue is generated at the ward level where they are based. And then you have the sport tourism, which is the 4th sector. And we believe that our province stands a very good chance in terms of hosting, your derbies, your major events, and by so doing, ensure that revenue remains, the revenue that is generated remains in the province for a long time, because people will fall in love not only with the sport infrastructure, but they will fall in love with the province at large and want to come back. So we have invested quite a bit with sport tourism. And then lastly, we want our clubs to not to be dependent on government, particularly the professional teams. So we're looking at them, trying their level best to operate as businesses, which is why we are partnering with La Liga, because La Liga has funded programs that we are leveraging on. So these are efforts, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, that will assist the department in terms of ensuring that the little that we have is actually maximized because of the partnerships and the resource mobilization strategy that we've put together. We lastly have the funding policy, which is also about ensuring that whomever we fund plows back in the communities. So one of the conditions for funding our entities is that they should have a CSI project, and that CSI project is going to basically, stretch the rand for poor communities, because they will receive support from the federations and sport and recreation entities that we fund, so that some of the programs that we can't necessarily do ourselves, they can actually kickstart in communities, and then communities can latch on and build those projects further. So without necessarily going through the whole thing in terms of presenting the budget, that is basically us saying, irrespective of the fact that our budget is going down, we still have an opportunity where we actually can leverage and mobilize resources beyond what we have as a department. So on that note, Honorable Chairperson, if you will allow me to hand over to the CFO so she can then take us through the budget 2021-22 MTEF. Thank you.
You are allowed the HOD. CFO, your HOD has requested that you make a presentation on the behalf of the department, and you focus on the runs and cents, my lady.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. I hope my presentation is showing.
Not yet showing, Shane. We are waiting for it. But if it doesn't show, you shouldn't worry, because we received your presentation as the Finance Portfolio Committee. We'll be following on the pages that will be directing us to.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. The budget for vote 10, 2021-22 MTEF. I will go straight to the presentation. Chair, page 3. I would like to confirm that the budget process followed by the department was in line with the strategic planning processes. It's in line with the National Sport and Recreation Plan, the National Development Plan, Provincial Growth and Development Plan, MTSF, and is also in line with the key priorities of government as listed. And I would also like to report that there is no new legislation or policies relating to sport and recreation that have been introduced, and therefore no changes have been proposed on the programs and some programs, aims and objectives and outputs of the department. And looking at the departmental budget allocation per program, as HOD has indicated, our budget for 2020-21 was reduced from the baseline of 481,217,000 to 298,028 rand, and for the financial year 2021-2022, from a baseline of 502,219,000, this budget has been reduced to 475,629,000, due mainly to fiscal consolidation and wage freeze. This budget thereafter varies to 481,924,000 and 477,348,000 in the 2022-23 and 23-24 financial years, respectively. Looking at this budget allocation per program, we're starting with Program 1, that is administration. Program 1 receives an allocation of 109,016,000 in 2021-22 financial year, and this allocation increases over the MTF to 117,548,000 in 2023-2024. This budget is mainly for provision of administrative services in the department, for example, human resources management, financial management, policy planning, legal, security, and other services that are within administration. Looking at Program 2, Program 2 has 4 sub-programs: management, sport, recreation, and school sport. Firstly, looking at management, the allocation for management increases from 100,144,000 in 2020-21 to 110,296,000 in
22 financial year and further increases over the MTF to 110,852,000 in 2023-24. Sport receives an allocation of 164,420,000 in 2021-22, and this allocation increases to 169,418,000 in 22-23, and is thereafter reduced to 159,560,000 in 2023-24. Recreation receives an allocation of 44,650,000, and this allocation varies to 44,259,000, and thereafter increases to 44,941,000 in 2023-24 financial year. School sport allocation was drastically reduced in the 2020-21 financial year. However, in 21-22 financial year, we have an increased allocation of 47,247,000, and this allocation is varied down to 46,836,000 and further to 44,447,000 in 2023-24 financial year. In total, for Program 2, for the 2021-22 financial year, we have an allocation of 366,613,000, and it increases to 371,177,000 in 22-23, and is therefore after reduced to 359,800,000 in the financial year 2023-24. Looking at the budget allocation for the department per economic classification, we start with current payments, which includes compensation of employees and goods and services. Compensation of employees allocation increases over the MTF 252,135,000 in 21-22, and further increases to 152,388,000 in 2023-24 financial year. Goods and services allocation from the reduced allocation of 103,490,000, it increases to 212,372,000 in 2021-22 financial year, and this allocation further increases over the MTF to 221,890,000 in the financial year 2023-24. Transfers and subsidies. Overall allocation of transfers and subsidies increases from the reduced allocation of 55,799,000 in the 2020-21 financial year. It increases to 101,435,000 in 21-22 financial year, increases to 101,977,000 in financial year 2022-23, and this allocation is thereafter reduced to 89,463,000 in the outer year. Payments for capital assets. We have an allocation for buildings and other fixed structures, which increases over the MTF to 5,116,000 in 2021-22, and further increases to 7,312,000 in the financial year 2023-24. Machinery and equipment, that is budget dedicated for our equipment and purchasing of vehicles. That allocation is sitting at 4.5 million in 2021-22 financial year, reduced to 4 million in 22-23, and further increased to 6,295,000 in the financial year 2023-24. Total allocation for the department is sitting at 475,629,000 for 21-22 financial year, increases to 481,924,000 in the financial year 2022-23, and then is further then reduced to 477,348,000 in the financial year 2023-24. Looking at the explanations of the variances highlighting briefly compensation of employees, as we've indicated. Following the budget cuts, the department had to embark on an exercise of detailing the exact posts that need to be filled in the 21-22 MTEF, and we costed for the filling of internships, the contract staff, and the critical posts that were identified that could not have been filled in the 2020-21 financial year due to the response by the department on the pandemic. And these posts are budgeted to be filled in the 2021-22 financial year going forward. And looking at goods and services allocation, goods and services budget is decreased by 17 million in the 2021-22 financial year, and it's also reduced throughout the MTF. And the department had to do some adjustments, as this budget is mainly for communication, advertising, where we had cuts. We had to look at alternative ways of still providing the services. We looked at communicating more on the social media platforms rather than more advertising on the newspapers, and we looked at virtual meetings taking place more than traveling to different venues for them for the meetings, and that resulted in reduction in related operational expenses. And there are no plans by the department to cancel any programs, but rather to scale down some of the activities to accommodate the proposed the budget cuts. In relation to the budget allocation, then the budget therefore increases to 212,372,000 in the 21-22 financial year, and increases further over the MTEF. Transfer payments. The department transfers funds to municipalities to assist the different municipalities with the construction of sport facilities, and the department has prioritized construction for Newcastle, Alfred Duma, Umhlatuze, Umfolozi municipalities, and we are further allocating funds for maintenance of the sport facilities that the department is constructing in those municipalities. We also have an allocation for non-profit institutions in 2021-22 financial year. We are allocating 53,787,000, and this allocation increases further to 41 million. It goes down to 41 million in the 2023-24 financial year. And capital, mainly the budget is allocated for the construction of sport facilities, and we have an allocation of 5.1 million for this purpose. In the previous financial year 2020-21, as a result of a response to the pandemic, this budget was reprioritized, and we are therefore looking at constructing facilities in the 2021-22 financial year going forward. Conditional grant funding. Conditional grant funding is included in the Program 2 allocation that I've already gone through. Conditional grant, we receive an allocation from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture nationally, and for mass participation and sport development grant. In the financial year 21-22, we receive an allocation of 96,317,000, and this allocation is reduced down to 92,726,000 in the 22-23 financial year, and further reduced to 86,105,000 in 2023-24 financial year. Under EPWP grant allocation for provinces, we don't receive any allocation over the MTF, and for EPWP incentive grant for social sector, we are receiving an allocation of 2.1 million for the financial year 2021 22, and this allocation is at the discretion of the National Department of Public Works. Looking at the infrastructure allocation, as I indicated, for infrastructure, new capital projects, for 2021-22 financial year, we have an allocation of 5,116,000, and this allocation increases over the MTF to 7,112,000 in the financial year 2023-24. Infrastructure transfers. The department has an allocation of 53,787,000 for infrastructure transfers. And this allocation is includes the current transfers, which is 900,000 over the MTF, and infrastructure capital transfers, the allocation being 52,887,000 in 21-22 financial year. The same allocation is allocated for 22-23, and the allocation is reduced to 40,388,000 in the financial year 23-24. In total, for infrastructure, we have an allocation of 67,149,000 in the financial year 2021-22, and then this allocation is reduced in the outer year to 58,182,000. We have already indicated the projects that will be undertaken by the department, infrastructure projects, in the previous slides, and I will therefore not be repeating, but I would like to highlight that the department has an allocation for the leases of premises from the 21-22 financial year. This allocation is increased as a result of the new building that the department is now leasing, so this allocation is increasing over the MTEF. Changes in baseline allocation, as I've been indicating, there is a number of budget reductions on our baseline allocation. For the financial year 2021-22, the baseline allocation is sitting at 502,219,000, increasing to 543,961,000 in 2023-24. However, there are budget reductions that are taking place, and these budget reductions in the 2021-22 financial year, the total reduction is 26,590,000. A further reduction also in 22-23 financial year, amounting to 43,153,000, and in the 23-24 financial year, the reduction in the baseline allocation is sitting at 66,613,000. The budget reductions under equitable share are mainly as a result of fiscal consolidation that contributed 12 million reduction, 381,000 is 12,381,000 reduction in the equitable share allocation, and this allocation reduction increases to 23,601,000 in the 2023-24 financial year. The department is also experiencing further cuts in relation to the wage freeze and the compensation of employees, as well as other fiscal consolidation cuts in relation to compensation of employees. That is 19,643,000 in the 21-22 financial year. Further cuts in 22-23 financial year, amounting to 13,049,000, and further cuts of 23,601,000 in the 23-24 financial year. In the compensation of employees, we have a cut that was reversed as a result of the cuts in the 2020-21 financial year that included the conditional grant allocation. So these cuts have been reversed back into the departmental allocation in the 21-22 financial year as well as 22-23 financial year. So we are receiving 1,045,000, and we are also receiving 1,221,000 in the 22-23 financial year. Outer year adjustments sitting in the 23-24 financial year is 1,506,000. That is the increase in allocation of the department in the outer year. We're also receiving an allocation, it's 275,000, that is in relation to the collection by the department in relation to the sport awards. We received sponsorships in the 19-20 financial year, and this allocation will be utilized in the 21-22 financial year, because this year we did not have sport awards taking place, and therefore this amount will be used for the sponsorships should we have the program taking place in the 21-22 financial year. Changes in relation to conditional grant allocation, mass participation and sport development grant. We have an increase in allocation of 2,005,000. However, in 22-23 financial year, the budget is reduced by 3,158,000 and is further reduced in the 23-24 financial year by 9,779,000. The department also receives in the 21-22 financial year a social sector EPWP grant of 2,109,000, and the revised allocation for the department over the MTEF provincial allocation is 379,312,000, which increases to 391,243,000. Conditional grant is an allocation of 96,317,000, which is reduced to 86,105,000 in the 23-24 financial year. Total revised allocation for the department over the MTF is sitting at 475,629,000 in 21-22 financial year, and this allocation is reduced to 477,348,000 in the financial year 2023-24. In summary of the baseline changes in the 21-22 financial year, the percentage change in the budget in relation to the baseline allocation, it's a 5.3% reduction of our baseline allocation. And in the 2022-23 financial year, the baseline allocation is reduced by 8.2%. And in the outer year, the baseline allocation is reduced by 12.2%. And Chairperson, the department receives an revenue. We estimate in terms of how much revenue the department is going to collect over the MTF. And in the 21-22 financial year, we are estimating that we will receive about 200,000 in relation to sales of goods and services, and we are anticipating to receive this allocation over the MTF. In terms of transfers from public corporations, that is in relation to the sponsorships we receive for the sport awards, it's difficult to accurately project this collection. Therefore, there is no estimate indicated over the MTF. For sales of capital assets, that is mainly the vehicles, redundant vehicles or redundant equipment that we sell, we are estimating that we'll be able to collect 262,000 in 21-22 financial year, and we are estimating that we will receive and will collect more in 23-24 financial year. And financial transactions and assets, that is mainly the recoveries of debts that are raised against the staff. So we are anticipating to collect 41,000 in 21-22 financial year, and we anticipate to collect about 45,000 in 23-24 financial year. Total departmental own source receipts, we're sitting at a total of 503,000 in 21-22 financial year, which increases further to 552,000 in 23-24 financial year. Chairperson, the balance of the presentation is service delivery targets that will be achieved by the department in utilizing the budget as I've gone through. Chairperson, thank you. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much, CFO and the HOD, for that presentation. We are going to trust that our own committee that does the oversight over sport and recreation will be following on those targets, because it is clear that they appear in the annual performance plan of the department, and a very simple and clear presentation that you have made. So wanted to find out if honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee have got any question to ask. Now, kunomhlolo umavuso nayo ukhona kule Portfolio Committee. Sengimbonile noSingi bakhona. Hayi, lokho, honorable members, is there any question that you have over this department? Engathi impressekile abanye babelonga kwiscope, they are aware that this department is highly praised by the Auditor General for good management of the resources. That's what is good about the department. Ngoba labafuni ukunibuza, mina khona ngifuna ukuzwa nje kahle la kini oku-2. The first one is that we are noting the return of the EPWP incentive grant. The question that is specific directed to you is whether you have corrected all the issues that led you not to receive it in 2020-2021. Because we know you did not get this incentive grant because of problems that you had in the department as articulated by the National Treasury when the Finance Portfolio Committee was fighting them. That's the first question. The second question is around the question of infrastructure. We want to find out if the Department of Public Works is implementing any infrastructure on your behalf. If they do, are they delivering as expected? So those are the two questions, friends, that I'm interested in. Okuhle nokubi bengikhumbule nje ukuthi ayi kunomali yasilahlekela ngonyaka odlule ye-EPWP ngezathu sangaphakathi emnyangweni. Can we get the response, HOD and your team?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, for the questions. We will start with the EPWP one, and we thank you, Chairperson, for having been uncompromising on this. The tongue lashing we got really got us going. We have put a system in place. First of all, we've got a dedicated official that is going to oversee and ensure that the implementation of EPWP in the department does not go back as in the past. So there is a dedicated official first and foremost, and then the second thing that we've done is we've ensured that we get to advertise the positions on time, because the where we faltered the last time was that the adverts went out very late, and by the time we started recruiting and getting people into the program, we did not have enough to warrant your work opportunities and FTEs. That whole calculation did not yield the necessary figures that warranted support. So we really faltered, and it was definitely our fault as a department, because of the systems that were in place then, or the lack thereof. So we can assure the honourable chairperson and honourable members that the incentive grant that we've received came in at the right time for the department to basically enhance land use job creation that we spoke to earlier. And then in terms of the infrastructure, I'm going to ask Mr. Msane to come in and take us through the infrastructure programs and the involvement of the Department of Works. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. MEC, and then the colleagues. And as far as the public works question, the Department of Sport and Recreation does not have project that they implement direct with or public works per se. We use municipality as implementing agent in as far as the development of our sporting facilities that we have. So in as far as the question that was asked by the chairperson, we don't have the project that we implement with them. Thank you very much.
Very clear, Msani. Asanomukhamwa komsani yini wemsani. Kunelokishi la ngakithi lephesha kokuthukela kuthiwa kwaMsani. Manje angazi noma isizwe sakwaMsani lesilapha. Siyabonga kakhulu. We want to come to the end of this engagement by indicating that we are hopeful that our Department of Sport and Recreation is going to do what the HOD has indicated around the question of the implementation of the budget for the conditional grant. Really, we cannot afford to lose that extra money, which is earmarked by our own national government for job creation. Really, we appreciate the system that you have developed, and we hope that you are not going to be caught flat-footed when National Public Works is demanding reports from you. So having said so, I would want to thank the honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee who have been camping here for the second week today, scrutinizing the budgets of our own government. We also want to thank the sister committee led by Honorable Mapena for joining us, hoping that the few issues, or we raised one issue, is the close monitoring of the system of ensuring that the EPWP incentive grant for provinces is accounted for by the department so that we don't lose out. Then around the question of the overall budget, we have seen that we are getting into a new era as KwaZulu-Natal, where departments that are underspending their budgets might be persuaded to part with the part of the projected underspending. And we think that the action taken by the National Treasury is going to assist all departments to accelerate the spending of the money allocated by the legislature. As you could hear, honorable members not asking any question, is because your presentation is convincing enough that it doesn't demand us to ask any question. and you stand assured that the budget of 475 point something million rand, the legislature, persuaded by the Finance Portfolio Committee, will be apportioned to you. We really want to thank you very much, Madam MEC, for leading the department so well, together with the head of department and all officials. We also want to thank the Portfolio Committee on Sport and Recreation for doing rigorous oversight over that particular department, whose performance is seen to be rising year in and year out. Bahlonishwa, sesifike ekugcineni, nathi-ke sahamba sangakithi phesheya kothukela ngoba kuyimpelasonto. Sihambe kahle, siphephe sonke nama-officials ethu, mama-MEC kanye nawo wonke awuzakwethu okuyithina esenza lo msebenzi wokubheka iminyango ukuthi iyakwenza lokhu enikezwe imali ukuthi kwenze. Thank you very much. This hearing is closed.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Siyathokoza.
Oh,
Thank you, Chairperson.
okay.
Siyathokoza.
Okay, that uthule nje momolo wami.